Okay, guys, so here's one of my all-time favorite fresh garden vegetables, fresh tomatoes. So it's tomatoes and turnips, and this ends the A to Z vegetables. I don't know why, but because zucchini is in the squash. That's right. Okay, so tomatoes. Tomatoes don't do well until the soil warms to 65 degrees or more, and nighttime temperatures. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Excuse me. They thrive in rich soil with a pH of about 6.5. To start plants indoors, begin 6 to 7 weeks before the last spring frost. Harden them off before setting them out. Spacing in the garden depends on your method of growing. If you're going to let them sprawl on the ground, each plant needs to be 4 square feet. Each plant needs 4 square feet. For those that will be staked, 3 square feet is adequate. If your soil is wet, set each plant on a mound 4 to 6 inches high. If your soil is dry, create a depression for each plant. Water plants well an hour before transplanting. Now remember, with tomatoes, you can put a trellis up around it if you're doing square foot gardening, and you don't need that extra 3 square feet. Alright, secrets of tomato staking. If you stake your tomatoes, place the stake before you transplant, so you don't disturb the roots. Tie tomato vines loosely to the stake as they grow. Pinch suckers to encourage strong growth of the main stem. When the vine reaches the size you want, pinch back the growing tips. Set the plants about 2 inches deeper than they were in the pot. Pick off a couple of the lower leaves if plants are leggy. Much stem and few leaves. Lay down the plant on its side and bury part of the stem along with the roots. Prune the lower leaves off, leaving just the top leaves exposed. Roots will form later on the stem. Immediately after transplanting, water the plants well. Mulch 4 to 6 weeks later when the soil is nice and warm. If you let tomato plants sprawl on the ground, a mulch is not necessary. Pruning is generally not necessary, but staked and trellised plants will be easier to train if they have only 1 or 2 main stems. So I'm going to have to remember that myself. Pruning means pinching off the shoots or suckers that grow out from the stems at their branching points. This encourages larger fruits, and I'm definitely going to be doing that. A general yellowing or pale green indicates nitrogen need. Avoid side dressing with nitrogen until after flowering is well underway. You can then side dress with an ounce or so of 5-10-10 or a quart of manure tea around the base of each plant. Yes?
I found a video that Destiny took, I think, of Christian in the shed trying to get Legolas out.
I'll be right back, guys. Hang on. Okay. Alright, so turnips. Direct sow the seeds about 1 inch apart in single rows, spaced 12 to 15 inches apart. Thin to 4 inches when the seedlings emerge. Fertilize regularly with fish emulsion and water. Cover with fabric row covers to inhibit pests. No, underline that. Begin to harvest the greens and bottoms when the roots are about 1.5 inches across, so only about like that. Pull the entire plant and snip off the top. For best flavor, the roots should be gathered before they exceed 3 inches in diameter. So before they get like that. Right? So freezing vegetables. Evidence to the contrary. Now I'll add it in this one. Freezing vegetables. If you've ever bought fresh green beans from the supermarket in midwinter and compared them with your own frozen green beans, the merits of freezing should be obvious. There's no comparison in quality. Following are general tips for freezing vegetables. 1. Check the seed catalogs and seed packages to be sure you've chosen a variety that freezes well. Pick only young, tender vegetables ready for table use. Wash the vegetables thoroughly by rinsing, repeatedly if necessary. Lift the vegetables out of the water rather than draining the water, which allows the dirt to settle back on them.
Even if she isn't.
Also, when you wash them, you should add a little bit of vinegar to the water. Like a quarter cup, I think it is. Quarter to a half a cup of vinegar to your water. Blanch vegetables by quickly steaming or immersing in boiling water before freezing. This procedure sets the color and stops the action of the enzymes that will otherwise continue to mature the vegetables. Cool vegetables promptly after blanching to keep them crisp. Dry vegetables thoroughly after cooling to prevent the formation of large ice crystals. Pack vegetables into freezer bags or containers, leaving at least an inch of headspace if using a rigid container. Drying vegetables. Blanch, washed, cut up vegetables in steam or boiling water before drying. Fruits can be treated with an antioxidant if desired. Dry in the sun or in a dehydrator until leathery for fruits or crisp hard for vegetables. Store in small airtight containers and keep in the dark. Springtime preserving of stored crops. After several months, the quality of stored crops may begin to deteriorate, particularly when they are not stored under ideal conditions. As long as they are firm and crisp and have good flavor and color, their nutritive value is close to that of their fresh crop. When they begin to wither, however, their food value decreases. Rather than letting these crops continue to deteriorate, you may want to preserve them in midwinter or early spring by canning, freezing, or drying. The rush of the harvest season is over. Plenty of empty canning jars should now be available if you've been eating vegetables canned in the fall, and space in the freezer is opening up. Now is the time to make and preserve pumpkins, squash, turnips, applesauce, pickled beets, or what have you. Crops that wintered in the garden or in outside storage should also be preserved now. These winter vegetables and fruits will then be usable throughout the spring and summer until the next harvest. Okay, and that was it for the vegetables from A to Z section. And now, in the next video, it will start on canning. And I'm going to go ahead and get this up there, and I will see you guys in a bit. Bye, guys.